Alright, let's continue. The Ushiromiya family conference was held once every year on the first weekend of October. If a normal family were to hold a so-called family conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other around buckets of sushi or something. However, part of the family's great fortune had been lent out to grandfather's children, and no one in this family was considered an adult until they had met with success in business. So this meeting literally was a conference. Oh, so that's why they said that George was almost an adult, because he seems to be successful. How much of the fortune was invested? What sort of business was conducted? How much profit was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Or possibly how much more would be borrowed for future business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seems that topics like these were discussed very seriously in the past. Oh shit, that's my okay, wait a second. Still have to take medicine. I still have to take medicine every 8 hours. But it shouldn't be a problem if I take it a bit later than 10. It is roughly every 8 hours. Taking it at 11 is fine too. It seems that topics like these were discussed very seriously in the past. My dad said it was like lying on a bed of nails. Oh, that doesn't sound very comfortable. Apparently it used to be a very serious family meeting where people were bathed in scornful and angry voices, and some people even got slapped despite their age. Holy shit, just picturing somebody slapping a grandmother in the face. However, that had become a thing of the past. Now, with everyone pursuing their own business ventures and achieving success, it was becoming more of a normal yearly get-together. Even so, telling grandfather about recent events was extremely stressful, so while it was nothing more than a simple get-together for his grandchildren, it was still a real stomachache for our parents. The absence of the man who was the source of all this trouble, regardless of the reason, probably made today's lunch taste much more delicious. The phrase, "while the demon is not around, everyone can relax," comes to mind. I guess that's a Japanese saying. Anyway, let's introduce Jessica's father, whose face I haven't seen for 6 years. The man sitting to my father's left is his older brother and Jessica's father, Uncle Kurausu. This name sure is easy to read. Klaus. Now that we've gotten used to this string of weird names, our perspective is totally skewed. So Klaus doesn't actually seem that bad. It even starts to sound kinda cool. Just like with Aunt Natsuhi, I didn't have many memories of speaking with Uncle Klaus. He had never been one to chat to children, and I felt like he was always talking with the adults, just like Aunt Natsuhi. According to my father's gossip, he was a spiteful and violent man. If what he said is true, Uncle Klaus used to be very domineering from his position as the older sibling, and was despised by all the other siblings. Yeah. Though, despite that, those siblings all seemed to be chatting happily together. Oh well, even if their relationship was bad when they were children, sometimes when people grow up and live apart from each other, their relationships change. Mir fällt das jetzt erst auf, aber die hat ja was auf ihrem Arm. Ist das ein Tattoo oder hat sie durchsichtige Kleidung an mit einem sichtbaren Muster? That's probably what this was. After all, they all had children of about the same age. By sharing the same family environment, they probably profited by exchanging opinions. Maybe because of that, a short while ago, the circle of parents began to discuss the exams Jessica and I would be taking. Jessica, in order to escape questions about exams from my father on her left, purposefully faced right while firing off a rapid series of comments, not giving him any chance to get a word in. Moving on, let's look at the end opposite from Klaus and the others. In the very last seat at the table, an old gentleman with a sturdy physique sat facing Kiryu-san. This was my first time meeting him. I had only just been introduced to him, but it seems he's grandfather's personal doctor, a man called Nanjo. I heard he used to own a huge clinic on the nearby island of Niijima, but he turned it over to his son and began living a life of leisure in his old age. He had known grandfather since the very beginning, when the mansion was first constructed on this island, and had built up a relationship over several decades. I thought at first that the two of them might have gotten to know each other through grandfather's suspicious hobbies, but it seems he was actually grandfather's chess partner. Ah, stimmt. Die haben am Anfang mal Schach gespielt. I see, that kind of hobby seems very like our grandfather, what with his love of all things Western. Nanjo's probably the only person who could enter Rokkenjima despite being neither a family member nor a servant. He looked like a calm old gentleman as he listened to the discussion between Kiri and the other women who sat near to him. Haben wir von dem jetzt auch was? Oh, cool, jetzt haben wir alle. Everybody's here. Ushiromiya Kinzo, the aged head of the Ushiromiya family, even though it has already been announced that he has just a few months to live, he is brimming with energy. Though he amassed a vast fortune in the past, he never made any announcements regarding the inheritance, which worries his children. He is strongly influenced by the West and is a rabid fan of the occult. His study is packed with mysterious grimoires. Attending physician Nanjo. Kinzo's attending physician and longtime friend. He once ran a hospital on Niijima, but he turned it over to his son. Okay, haben wir gerade. Now that Kinzo's constant suspicion has reached extraordinary heights, Nanjo is one of the very few people he trusts. Thanks to Nanjo's big-hearted nature, he has been able to continue his friendship with Kinzo, despite the latter's tendency to fly into a rage at the slightest provocation. Yeah, the chessboard. Probably threw everything everywhere. Considering how long he stayed by the side of our short-tempered grandfather, his generous heart was probably nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he was a family doctor, having anyone outside the Ushiromiya family attend the family conference was a little odd. It made me think that grandfather's condition might have worsened so much it'd be a major topic of discussion at today's conference. After all, George said something like that just a second ago. Something about how we've been getting continuous reports since around last year that grandfather didn't have long to live. It's nasty to think about it, but consider how rich grandfather is. The Umidex. At the time of his death, his wealth will suddenly be released, probably along with a fair share of our parents' stomach acid, and it'll lead to ulcers. Ulcers? Whoa, how do you pronounce that again? I know that ulcers for everyone. After all, this sort of thing just gets messier when there's more wealth to be divided. By the way, what is this tips thing? We don't have anything here yet, okay. There's a good chance they'll be talking about stuff like that at the family conference. Still, it's not like it's got anything to do with us kids. Finally, even though he hasn't shown up, let me introduce our grandfather. The lunatic, the raving madman. The person who should be sitting in that inscrutable chair is Ushiromiya Kinzo. It really sucks. Everyone else in the family has these weird names, but he's got this perfectly normal one himself. If only his name were written Kinzo, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something, I'd totally freak out. As you can probably guess by now, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. I'm one of his grandchildren, not a son, and I haven't seen him since elementary school. Thanks to that, I have no memory of being beaten myself, but our parents were apparently raised with an iron fist and a wooden sword. That earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Klaus about who should go convince grandfather to come down seems pretty darn funny once you know their background. You can't really tell grandfather's story without covering that pivotal event back before the Showa era, which is from 1926 to 1989. Until the Meiji, 1868 until 1912, and Taisho, 1912 until 1926 eras, the Ushiromiya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills, making them rich enough to just double over laughing every day as the money kept rolling in. Incidentally, grandfather was a member of a branch family and had pretty much nothing to do with the main family. Okay, und was ist dann passiert? Wegen irgendwas ist die gesamte Main Family gestorben und er ist nur noch übrig geblieben? Not only was he way down the list of people who could inherit the headship, but he had hardly any contact with the glamorous main family. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake in the year Taisho 12, 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushiromiya family in Odawara was flattened. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire, and the Ushiromiya family lost most of its wealth and family members in an instant. Okay, that sucks. So once they started trying to figure out who the successor to the Ushiromiya family should be, they apparently found no one remaining except Kinzo and his branch family. In Kinzo's later reminiscences, he referred to this as good fortune so great that it overturned fate. With that, grandfather's boring everyday life did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the dying Ushiromiya family, which had lost nearly all of its wealth. However, just because he had been entrusted with this task didn't mean he could accomplish it. Apparently those around him weren't really expecting much. However, this is when grandfather began displaying his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of the family's remaining wealth, as well as everything from the hair on his head to his toenails, as collateral in order to borrow a massive amount of money. Once he'd built up a gigantic war chest, he immediately invested in businesses. It was like someone tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping onto a neighboring bike and then another one. Just like some crazy street performance. I'll bet everyone thought grandfather had no business ability whatsoever. However, after several miracles and turns of good luck, with coincidences piling up and every chance taken advantage of, he was suddenly in control of powerful connections with the occupying forces. So, he keeps mentioning the witch Beatrice, and I'm still guessing that maybe there's some contract that he made with her and then she gave him good luck or something, but gonna take his soul in exchange. I mean, that sounds pretty standard, so it's probably gonna be much more complicated, but who knows. At that time, MacArthur and the GHQ were the ultimate authority in Japan. What's the GHQ again? Grandfather, in a twinkle of an eye, began succeeding in business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. By this point, it's probably safe to say that information, not luck, saved the day. He must have made some seriously deep connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew beforehand about emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War. Grandfather headquarters. No, it was more than that. He must have predicted those emergency demands from the very beginning, when he started investing his money. The history books make it sound like all of Japan made a large profit off of the emergency demands during the Korean War, but that isn't actually true. Only a very limited number of the super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, grandfather was a member of this extremely lucky group of winners. I'm pretty sure this all happened during the year Showa 25, 1950 or so. The Great Kanto earthquake happened in Taisho 13, 1924. So, that means grandfather was able to revive the near-dead Ushiromiya family in only about 20 years to a level even higher than it had ever been before. With that, you'd think he'd revive the main family in Odawara, but for some reason, he went and did something as crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something that you can ordinarily do today. However, grandfather was clever. He contacted the grandfather headquarters. He contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as a business property, then tossed that project aside and claimed it as his own plot of land. After the war, there were prevention measures against food shortages, and having the sponsorship of the GHQ meant that nobody could oppose him. From what I've heard, the Tokyo metropolis of that day offered this land to him practically for free. Later, Tokyo made difficulties by telling Kinzo to return the land, but the pushy GHQ intervened. Anyway, it seems under-the-table bribes did their work well. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather, with considerable skill and good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune and his own island. Of course, it probably wasn't all luck. He was obsessed with all things Western, which helped him cultivate his English skills. He was able to use this to his advantage and sink his teeth into the GHQ. A mansion was built on the island soon after. This mansion, in fact. Grandfather, with his love of the Western style, made this once uninhabited island a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. いいご上手ですね。 Tintin. He now had the western mansion of his dreams, overflowing with emotion and atmosphere, and a beautiful garden featuring all sorts of roses. And he had a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint. This would be a dream come true for any boy. After that, he made good use of his huge fortune, becoming a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry, and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person usually has the ability to foresee and predict the future, or at least that is how they're portrayed after the fact. But grandfather denies all of that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that can't help but grow increasingly eccentric when locked up alone on an island where all his dreams are made real. Everyone knows that he's had a Western obsession from the start, but none of our parents really know when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Did his love of black magic begin way back when he became fascinated with everything Western? Or did his miraculous stretch of good luck while reviving his family cause him to feel a mysterious power in himself? At some point, grandfather began to make the research of black magic his life's work. He filled his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre. From what I've heard, those around him warmly watched over him, figuring that someone who had achieved success in life had a right to do as he pleased. Warum ist denn da ein Fragezeichen? But there's no way that's true. Entschuldigung. They were probably just creeped out, thinking, that's disgusting, I don't want to get involved. Anyway, that agitated period was an age of big gambles, with both opportunities and risks. Let's say grandfather was born in this time period. He would have had no opportunity. Let's say grandfather was born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities and would probably have advanced like a chess piece from mandatory education to college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average salaryman. If that happened, he'd probably have sat somewhere happily talking behind his boss's back. No, not in a fancy dining hall like this, more like at a table in some bar. Then again, I'll bet this family conference would be a whole lot more relaxing if that were the case. Okay, that's enough about the old geezer. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch. Sashimi. Ich habe noch gar nicht viel richtig zu Abend gegessen und jetzt reden die von Sashimi. I'm already convinced by that sashimi salad appetizer. Gora-san's an excellent chef. Plus, these fish were caught in the adjacent seas, weren't they? They're totally different from the sashimi you get at the supermarket. Hey, quit it, Battler. Your upbringing will be exposed. Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pubs. I've eaten at many unusual places because of work, but this stands right up there with the best of them. I'd be willing to bet Gora-san used to be pretty well known in those circles. Well, I don't know the details, but stuff got complicated at the long-standing hotel he used to work at. What with them opening a new establishment with the same name and breaking into factions or whatever it was. In the middle of all that, he was apparently forced to retire. At that time, Mom just happened to be sending out job offers for its servant. As Gora removed the empty plates, he began to recount his own bumpy past without losing his smile. The world is a difficult place. However, thanks to the madam, I was given a chance to display my skills as a chef once again, this time for the Ushiromiya family. Although I enjoy experiencing the smiles of a larger number of people, I also find it quite entertaining to perform more delicate work that can please the limited number of those who have employed me. All this is thanks to the opportunity given to me by the madam. Gora-san respectfully bowed his head towards Aunt Natsuhi. That's because you were the most talented of the applicants. The decision was purely objective, not based on personal feelings, so there is no need to thank me. Dang, why does Aunt Natsuhi always have to sound so different? If only she spoke with a bit more kindness, she might leave a different impression. Shannon-chan and Kumasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving card. Please excuse us. Now then, let us move on to today's dessert. Gora-san and the other laid the beautifully adorned dessert out in front of us all. I guess it's true when they say you have another stomach for dessert. I thought I'd already filled up on delicious food, but as soon as I laid eyes on that dessert, my stomach started yelling more. I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce, and elegant rose petals adorned the dish. Jetzt krieg ich Hunger. Normally during a high-class meal like this, you're supposed to wait for the chef to extol the virtues of this particular meal before eating. However, Maria was completely indifferent to strict rules like that, so she got excited by this beautiful and delicious-looking dessert, jumping into the fray as soon as it was placed before her. Aunt Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, No, it's okay. This part's sour. This part's sour. Butler, this one's no good. Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces. What, some are good and some bad? Okay, I'll give it a go. Apparently one sauce was sweet and the other sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger in and licked it. Well, one of the sauces was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us. Shannon-chan, what kind of sauce is this sour stuff? As usual, I have no idea. Shannon-chan hesitated. Maybe her job was just to set the table, so she doesn't really know. Still, even considering that, she seems pretty stressed. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Or did they use some ingredient that we'd be better off not knowing about? Uh-oh. While Aunt Natsuhi made a gesture that seemed to indicate an oncoming headache, Kumasawa-san, who was setting the table at the opposite seat, began to chuckle. What do you think we made it out of? Oh, I will shock you. I don't have a clue. Wait a sec, Kumasawa-san, that laugh's pretty creepy. So, what is it? Don't tell anyone, okay? Listen very carefully. Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. I leaned forward myself when she asked. Their interest caught. Jessica, George, Aniki, and of course Maria also put their ears closer. What? Quickly. You see, the sour part is made from juice squeezed from a mackerel. Ugh. What? Mackerel? That's crazy, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding sagely. Mackerels are sour. This is what comes out when you squeeze them. When Maria started clamoring that mackerel were sour, the adults were unable to contain their laughter. Only Aunt Rosa, her face red, whispered to Maria that mackerel is sour only once prepared as shimezaba. Now I totally remember. Kumasawa-san was always like this, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me too in all sorts of ways when I was young. The most lethal has got to be that one. Those flimsy black things in Chinese dishes. They are kigurage, mushrooms. She told me they were penguin meat and I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Holy shit. Kumasawa-bachan, you sure haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe it now, right? Oh, it's just a joke. Now Gora-san's going to tell us what the sauce really is, won't he? Gora looked a little put off about his masterpiece being laughed at for such a bizarre reason. Well, fuck you. That's what you get for being such a dick. But after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us. Well then, allow me to introduce our dessert. After seeing how much you all enjoyed the rose garden earlier today, I've finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. The rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that very rose garden. The sauce is a combination of 2 reds, strawberry and rose hips. Please enjoy this mixture of the strawberry sweetness and the rose hips sourness. Furthermore, the rose petals are merely decorative, so please avoid them while you eat. With that said, please enjoy. Whoa, man, I almost want to applaud before eating. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed description first seems to make it work a whole lot better. As Gora-san elaborated on the details of this dessert, it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, should you call him subtle or just talented? Or just a douche? The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but taking the hint when we all stopped in front of the rose garden earlier today, he displayed an incredible and timely awareness by just adding a few rose petals from that garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you'd just get used to it and bored halfway through. But if you reached the sour sauce at that point, you'd get a really vivid taste. And then once you return to the sweet sauce, all of the sourness in your mouth will be replaced with an enjoyable sweetness. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Gora-san passed by one of our seats, someone praised the taste in his presentation. How is it, madam? Splendid as always. It is worthy of entertaining our guests. I am most grateful for your words. Madam, did you know? I have heard that rosehip has the ability to cure headaches. Zu der dessert. I thought that you in particular would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared. Is that so? Thank you. See, didn't I tell you, Natsuhine-san? Rosehip is great for headaches. So it seems. I do hope it actually helps.
Huh. Goda-san, I love you. Hey, later on, why don't you tell me how they're treating you? Or if you can't, just let me know what sort of celery you like. Having your talent confined to this small island is sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. What do you think about working your craft for my company and delighting all our customers?
Stimmt ja, da ist ja Restaurant-Dingsbums.
Here, son. You're trying to steal away our Goda? No, that won't do at all. We'd better start treating Goda better or he'll get snatched up.
Yes, you really should. If you don't, someone's gonna grab him and you'll be stuck with 3 meals of Kumasawa-style mackerel cooking a day, won't you?
Oh, that's harsh. It seems someone's holding a grudge against me.
Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's mackerel jokes were a running gag that our parents had long since gotten used to. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerels had precious nutritional value which could slow aging, make people smarter and more. Supposedly, while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent it on the inside. Since she was still spirited enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, there must be something to that theory.
In that case, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. It's mackerel, filled with mackerel.
I've been cooking plenty of mackerel dishes
for you all, so you'd better look forward to it.
Well, we sure will. Can't wait to get all puckered up from tonight's shimisaba.
That sounds wonderful. I wonder if they'll be serving any good Japanese sake. Oh, we certainly will. Haven't you heard of Rokkenjima's famous mackerel?
Oh, fuck you with your stupid mackerel. Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. It was pretty funny to watch Goda-san, who looked like his show had totally been stolen, explain in his serious voice that we would be having calf steak for dinner.
Kumasawa-san, thanks for doing that back there.
Krähenlikör. Boah, da rollen sich mir ja die Zehennägel hoch. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply.
Oh, I haven't done anything that requires thanks.
Kumasawa may have played dumb, but she had obviously understood and saved Shannon in the nick of time. Back when Battler had asked about dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them would have required some quick wits. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. Yeah, you should make some for the next session at home and never give it to me. If only Shannon had a little of the craftiness needed to cleverly shake off a mistake like Goda, her life would have been a bit easier. Maybe she'll still learn that. The fact that she could perform other tasks flawlessly made this weakness even more unfortunate. However, there were some who understood Shannon's honest nature, her inability to gloss over a mistake and draw attention away from it. That was why Kumasawa had smoothly come to her rescue.
I just heard from Genji-san that there will be a change in the afternoon shifts.
Uh-oh.
I believe you were given a break until this evening. Oh, I'm jealous. Huh? Oh, sorry, I haven't checked the shift chart yet. Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some.
Get lost.
If you don't mind, I would be happy if you would help out a bit before break. Oh, yes. I would be delighted to help.
To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, tea was being served in the parlor. Apparently, they'd prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had bought for Aunt Natsuhi. Maria said she also wanted to have some black tea, but my old bastard said she couldn't and told his children to go play outside. Butler-kun, why don't we all go for a walk outside?
Go ahead and take a look at the roses or something, but keep a close eye on the weather. The sky is still clear, but the weather report kept on talking about rain.
I want to go to the beach.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Playing on a sandy beach isn't something you get to do often, is it? Ah, good point. Okay, let's all go to the beach then.
Let's go, let's go.
Maria, be careful not to get your clothes wet. Or your shoes.
Won't get wet.
That obedience is so cute. Battlecon, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria-chan, okay?
Sure, leave it to me. Hey, you're pretty obedient and cute yourself listening to Kiryu like that. Or did you also listen to me obediently for a change?
Hell no. Let's go, everyone, come on. The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who pushed a serving cart in and prepared to serve the tea. The parlor was filled with a sublime aroma which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their thirst.
Rural family certainly seems close. It's a wonderful thing. Quit, we're no match for your family, Aniki.
That's true. You've raised Jessica-chan to be so adorable. I imagine that's yet another fruit of your talents at education and training, Natsuhi-san.
Thank you.
Natsuhi answered coldly. The conversation broke off then, and the parlor fell silent. Maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it himself with an exaggerated gesture.
Still, they sure to grow fast. I thought they'd be kids forever, but they started getting huge all of a sudden, and then they're adults like us. Bella-kun looks like a completely different person now.
His body has grown much bigger, but he's still just a kid. Though you could say the same about my husband. I wonder where the border between child and adult is. I still don't feel as though I've grown up.
Isn't it pitiful? There's not something that mother or child should say.
That's right. We're not children anymore. We're all adults now, so I wish we could talk together on an intellectual level rather than an emotional one. When Ifa smiled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though that pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out the window.
Since long ago, we've always endeavored to engage in intellectual conversations. It seems your sarcasm occasionally misses its mark, just as it always has.
Oh, what is it you've always endeavored to do? My, I wish I could wrap those words up and send them to this room a few decades ago. Right, Rosa?
Rosa gave a vague smile.
She knew that whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earn the displeasure of one of her siblings. It was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone growing up as the youngest sibling.
Quit it, Aniki. We'd better get started on our main topic while the brats aren't around. Let us make that our intellectual discussion.
As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh and some let a small look of resignation cross their face. They were approaching their unavoidable true agenda.